topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Hi, welcome to my show, Learning to Dance in the Rain. I'm Shelby Wagner, your host, and I bring you, we have discussions that dive deeply into stories that matter. And today, I'm very happy to introduce to you Claudia Wyatt, who is a coach and helps with self-doubt. And her mission, I believe, was to help people learn to believe in themselves. So before we get started with that, I would like to mention that I have 4 books now up on Amazon.com, Learning to Dance in the Rain, which inspired my podcast here to help people understand different ways of dealing with their storms in their life. But Learning to Dance in the Rain was the first book. Scams is a resource guide to help you learn 150 different scams so you can hang up the phone when you get any of those or not answer in the first place. And the third book is called Finding Love Again, a senior's guide to online dating. And the last one I just got up this week, I wonder, does that come out backwards? Two left feet, dance anyway. It's a step-by-step guide to help you learn to dance, and I hope that you will enjoy that one. Okay, let's get to work here and find out about, do you ever struggle with self-doubt? I do once in a while. Or do you feel like you have lost your spark? Well, today's episode, we sit down with the transformational coach, Claudia Wyatt, who's on a mission to help people believe in themselves and start living the life they were meant to be. And boy, does that align with my mission as well, Claudia. So come on out here and let's share some ideas here. I want to hear you.
Thank you so much for having me. I mean, there's so many just loves in this for your topic, for the dancing, for conquering your own storm. Like, I'm all in. So let's dive into it.
All right. Well, let's start. What inspired you to become a coach and helping others to do this, and explain what it is that you do?
You know, it's pretty amazing because I'd been a coach my entire life. I just didn't know it. I was always the one who was just giving information and helping people out and being there for them. And then I started doing that in my day job. Like, that was part of what I was doing as an executive director, was coaching executive teams and really doing one-on-ones with them. And that's kind of when the spark was lit. I was loving what I was doing and helping them. But it wasn't until 2020, when everything sort of stopped, that I was like, I need something else to do. And I started doing panels and talks and writing for magazines and just really trying to get my story out there, because my own storm really empowered me to help others never go through the things I went through alone. And then all of a sudden that just became me writing about my story, which, you know, when you write about your story or you talk about your story, it helps heal you. It's part of your healing journey. And that turned into other people reaching out and going, are you coaching? And I was like, no, I don't do that. And then that just boomed into me starting a business. And now it's what I live for. It is my purpose. So absolutely adore everything about it. I'm a certified confidence, cognitive behavior, and life purpose coach, known as the enthusiasm igniter because of my energy, and the self-doubt eraser, because those doubts that are in your head are what hold you back and keep you stuck. And that pain that you've been through, that you lock in a vault, that doesn't let you express your vulnerability, is actually the key to unlocking your own personal power.
Wow. So, how would you define self-doubt, and why do you think it's vital in today's world?
Everyone has self-doubt. Even the most confident of people have self-doubt. It's just what I call the noise. It's that voice in your head that's telling you you can't, that's holding you back, that's keeping you stuck, that's making you feel that you can't. And in cognitive behavior, most times it is a real voice. It is a real person who you have encountered in your life that you hear, that's spinning around in there telling you you're not enough, you're not worthy, and you can't do the things you want to do. What I help people do is push past that and say, yes, I can, and fight back. Because when you fight back, you tap into your own magic. And when you tap into that magic, it lights a spark that turns into this flame that will help you dance in that rain.
So, what do you suggest? What do we do when we get feeling that, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing it, or I can't do that. I really would like to, but I just can't.
You
What?
have to say, yes, I can. You have
Yes,
to.
I
You
can. Those
absolutely.
words.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you do. I say all the time. There's so many times is putting those thoughts on trial. Most of the time when you're in a situation of self-doubt, you're hearing that noise, you're listening to things that are not true. You've done powerful things before. You've done difficult things before. Every single person in this world has done something hard and gotten through it. And what you have to do is let go of the outcome and do it anyway. If you're, stuck in perfectionism and thinking, well, it's not going to be perfect, so I'm not going to do it, you're never going to get anywhere. If you hold yourself back from the things that bring you joy because you have shame or guilt or other people's judgment in your mind, you're never going to go for it. One of the most powerful methods that you can do is a 3-2-1 method. And I didn't come up with that. That's not my thing, but it is something that I express to people. If you just count down 3-2-1, go, you just do it. Action is the catalyst to self-doubt. Because if you take action, you will override the noise. And in that, you will rewire those neural pathways to believe you can do it.
Do you think this is something that a person can do for themselves, or do you think that we might need to get a coach like you?
Honestly, it can be done on your own. I did it on my own. It was something that propelled my journey and me wanting to do this for other people. It is hard. It is very hard to override that noise, especially if it's been something that's been in your brain for multiple years, decades. You've just gotten stuck in that loop, those patterns, but it can be done. But if you have a coach like me who's cheering you on and is holding you accountable and is there for you, it makes the journey so much sweeter.
That is very true. Very true. One of the things that I used to do a long time ago, and I still do it occasionally, is put notes on my mirror or on my refrigerator to remind me that, hey, I am a value. I can do this, right?
Yes, you can. Positive affirmations are key with mirror work, meaning when you're looking at yourself in the eye, in the mirror, and saying these positive affirmations out loud, your brain sees them and it does rewire those neural pathways to get you there. So I highly recommend that. That is a real thing.
So is it important to read these out loud?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it enough just to look at them and see them up there?
It's more powerful and it triggers more in your brain if your brain sees you, because it's computing that it's real when you are saying these things out loud. And if you're looking yourself in the eye, it goes, okay, this is really happening. It doesn't know that it hasn't happened yet. It doesn't know that it isn't real. It's actually helping you get there. So you can say them out loud. I walk around the house saying things out loud all the time, and that definitely does help. I'm a big fan of talking to myself. But how you talk to yourself, that's the important part. You have to be positive in how you talk to yourself with that self-love. which
A big one that I say often is, where are those keys to my car?
I would say, what am I doing in here? Like, that happens all the time. Why did I come in here? What am I supposed to be doing?
I leave my office to go get something in the kitchen, and then I can't remember why I went there when I get there. So, yeah. And unfortunately, I'm as I get older, it's even worse and worse. So, what are some of the common limiting beliefs that people struggle with, other than I can't do it? Does this come from our childhoods and things that we learned as a child, or is this a innate thing?
I mean, it's a little bit of everything, but our childhood really does have a big impact on our adulthood. Just like I said, that voice that you're hearing is someone who you loved, honored, respected. And one thing that they said to you can really change how you interpreted that, because the intention may not have been how you interpreted it, but how you interpreted it could hold you back your entire life. I will give you an example. My parents were both older. My siblings, there's a huge gap between us, and I was the youngest, but I kind of grew up as an only child. And my dad was very unwell as I was growing up. And my mom said to me, she said, you need to learn how to take care of yourself, be independent, be strong, because you may be doing this alone. We're older. We may not be here. Well, I took that as, I can't count on anybody. I have to only count on myself. I can't trust anybody. There's no point in asking for help because no one's going to be there for me. Mm-hmm. That held me back in so many ways in my life, in relationships, in work, in everything, because I never felt I could count on anyone. And that was something that was really difficult for me to break through and ask for help. But the main limiting beliefs that I see on the most with my coaching clients, with speaking engagements that I do, with working with teams, is I'm not enough and I'm not worthy. Those are the two things that are constantly in people's minds. The other aspect of that is judgment and guilt. And one of the things I teach when I'm working with people is boundaries. And boundaries are so huge. You've got to let go of the guilt. You've got to let go of the resentment, holding yourself accountable, letting go of the blame game, but realizing you are human. You are a person with imperfections, and that is okay. But if you don't start taking care of yourself, you're never going to live the life you want to live and be the person you want to be. You have to have that unwavering belief in yourself, regardless of what anyone else thinks. You are worthy, you are enough, and you are loved.
I'm taking notes here.
Please do. I do it all the time. I always have a pen and paper next to me.
You said I'm not enough, and what was the other one? The two.
No, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy, and I'm not enough. Those two will hold you back from relationships, jobs, opportunities.
And judging ourselves and
judging ourselves harshly.
Personally. So did someone help you along to, well, you said you were doing coaching before you knew you were doing coaching. Someone
I was very good at helping other people. I wasn't great at helping myself. And I didn't realize I had all these walls built up and I had all these, bad things going on in my brain. It just wasn't something I was aware of. And when I went through a very interesting decade in my 30s of a very toxic marriage blowing up in my face, my sister and my dad passing away, and my 17-year-old dog, I went into a high state of situational depression. And I didn't know what that was because this bright and shiny person that's full of energy was missing. And I just couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I was like, what is happening right now? Crying and barely able to leave my house. And that just so wasn't me. The energy was completely drained for me. And I was lost. I was lost in my own disaster, my own storm. But it was when I started coming out of that storm that I realized I needed to make changes in my life to stop repeating these patterns, to stop going down these roads. And if I didn't heal from the inside out, I was going to be stuck here. And I didn't want to be stuck there anymore. It wasn't a place I belonged in. And I did everything: workbooks, courses, classes, coaches, seminars, anything. I was determined to not repeat those patterns. And I was determined to live on purpose. And then I found more people with different aspects and skills that I didn't know. I had hired a love coach because I was making very bad choices in relationships. I've been divorced twice. I was like, okay, what am I doing wrong here? Because I keep doing the same things.
Mm-hmm.
Healers, energy workers, literally everything. And so I've taken a lot of those aspects of the things that I did to heal, and I have brought that into the people that I work with as well.
Can you tell us the first step? Is the first step realizing that you need to change?
The first step is wanting to.
Want
That is the first
to?
step.
Okay.
If you're in a situation where you're in your storm, you're not going to be able to just jump into the rain. You have to physically, mentally, emotionally say, enough is enough. I'm done with this. You're making that choice. That choice is the first step because you want to be different. You want to be better. You want to be yourself, and you don't want to be where you are. And then you take an action step forward. And for me, that's where my method came from, called the walkabout method. Is I got off the couch. I got up and I went for a walk. I took my dog and I went for a walk, and I felt like I was waking up for the first time. It was a beautiful day. The birds were singing, green everywhere, laughter in the park. And I stopped in that moment and said, it's time to move on. We are not going to be here anymore. Like, we are here for a reason, and I know I was meant for more, and this is not where I belong. And that's when I decided to do the work. So it all comes down to the choice.
The choice. Wanting to, and then the second one is deciding.
You've got to make action. It's an action step. You've got to do it.
Okay.
Because you can think all day long, I wish I was better. I wish I didn't live in this moment. I wish that I made better choices. You can live in there for years before you make a decision. But you have to make the choices. I am worth it, and I'm going to do it now.
Mm-hmm.
Stop waiting and start doing.
Once my husband of 50 years passed away in 2016, and 6 months later, my mother did.
Ugh.
And so I was just coming out of or getting used to being grieving and whatever, and deciding that I wanted to move forward. And my mother passed away, so then I had that. But a year after, well, I had already started with online dating.
Good for you.
At the end of January, I had just signed up for it, and Mom died about a couple of weeks later. And then it was about 4 months later that I got scammed. And so I went for a year there. I mean, practically sent back by the scamming into my grieving period again, because it was one thing after another. But a year after that happened to me, I was on the internet, and I saw that $145 million had been lost by people like me to romance scammers. And, I didn't want anybody to know that I had done this. And there are a lot of people that felt the same way. They felt the 145 million was low because people didn't want to share that. But the cat got out of the bed because the bank called my daughter. And so I had to do something. I had to tell them. But that was a very difficult time. And I didn't know if I could come out of that, and that's a lot of romance scams. The psychological effects of scam victims is different. If someone breaks into your house, okay, I locked the door, you're not to blame. But in this case, oh my gosh, what'd you do that for, mother? You should have known better. We warned you about this. So when I saw that 145 million, and I thought, wow, this is already an epidemic. This was in 17. And just the other day, well, last week, I gave a report from, it was reported in Reuters that the United Nations had said that cyber scams and romance scams is becoming like a cancer because it's spreading so fast. And now, how much was it? $10.5 billion. What?
I mean, I can relate to this because basically that was my second marriage. It wasn't necessarily in the same context as I married a con man. I had no idea, but I did it in person. There was never an internet thing. We met in person on a girls' trip vacation, and it was a whirlwind romance, and it just hit differently because he was a charmer and he was very good. And I was giving him the money because I had my own people pleasing, right? That I just wanted to make him happy and I wanted to do all these things. And he gave up all these things for me and down those roads, right? How can I help him? And it just kept going and going and going until, you know, he ended up in a foreign prison for his antics. And I was still in the people pleasing mode. And that's when I was in my big depression and I just couldn't see clearly. So you can't blame yourself because you can't see clearly when you're in these situations because you want so badly for it to be better, to be loved, to be in this wonderful, you know, fantasy that you've created. And you can't just imagine that that person could be bad. But then the signs start showing up and that real person starts coming out, right? Like the who they really are starts glimpses in your brain of this doesn't feel right. And then you break free from it and go, I'm not doing this anymore. That was a tough lesson for me to learn. And that's one of the reasons I was like, I am not doing this again. And it was a long time before I healed from that, probably a good 15 years before I healed. So don't put pressure on yourself that, you know, you should have known better. You were just being open to love. And there's nothing wrong with that. And as long as you learn the lesson from it, you're good.
That was an aha moment for me when you said your toxic marriage was similar. I had never made a correlation between the two. That's wonderful. We have a question from Kaylee in our audience, and she says, when we can help others but can't help ourselves, what should we do?
Think of the way you help others, right? You want to help your friends. You want to help your family because you care about them and you love them. Turn that back around on yourself. It's not a different pathway by any means. You have to be your own best friend. You have to be your own cheerleader. Listen to yourself and give yourself the same advice and then actually take it. That's the thing is we don't always take the advice for ourselves, right? Because again, it goes back to that, I don't feel worthy. It's easy to help someone else because we have that tendency to just love and express and bring community. And we really want to sustain that for other people. But we have to do that for ourselves because we will be better for other people when we are filling our own cups.
That goes along with the Greek who said self-love was their most important of all the different kinds of love, because if you can't love yourself, you can't love others either.
That's
so you do have to take care of yourself.
100% true.
Right. Here's Missy. She says, what if you're not sitting on the couch, but working with other people? What can you do to move forward to make your own business?
Well, honestly, it's that will of I want to. If your vault or your prison or whatever you call it is your job and you don't want to be with those people, I've been there as well. When you're in a situation where you're stuck and you're bored and you can't handle the negativity that's coming from other people, there is something bigger in there for you, which again, you have that purpose, you have that passion. What you should do first is decide what you actually want. What do you want? What is it that you're looking for? What do you dream of? Once you can get that clarity, You can build something around it. And that's when you have to make that choice and take that action step.
Okay. What if you have a job to make money to live, but you want to start your own business?
I'm with you. I've done it. I literally have had multiple jobs while starting my own business because yes, that's your passion and your purpose, but you got to pay the bills. I get that. I've been on my own for a long time. So the bills aren't going to stop just because I want to do things. And my other job, my day job, fueled my business. So it got me to a point where then I could start cutting back. So there's lots of people out there, that have given me advice to stop doing this and stop doing that. You have to do what's best for you. Nobody lives your life but you. So if you still want to work, whether it's in your full-time job, your part-time job, having another job, multiple streams of income so that you can live on purpose and you can do your dream, you will eventually get to the point where you can cut back and jump in full steam ahead.
Okay. Are there any myths about confidence or personal growth that you wish people would let go of?
That you just have to be confident, like you just don't have it, like it's something you can't obtain or get. Everyone has something that they're confident about. I don't care if it's that you know how to tie your shoes. It's something. And really what competence is competency. When you have it, gain more knowledge, get the skills that you need to get there, whatever it takes to make you more competent, and then go back to that root of I am worthy and I believe in myself. Because once you have that, it doesn't matter. There are so many things that I learned on the fly just because I wanted to do it and I went for it anyway. The first time someone asked me to be on a podcast, I was like, I don't know what that is, but it sounds like fun. Let's do it. I didn't have anything I needed, but I was like, I'll figure it out. And even if I fail, the first time I was on stage, in my opinion, there were things that were going wrong that I didn't think to ask. Everything is a learning experience for growth. And if you get stuck in that fixed mindset that everything has to be sunshine and rainbows before you do it, you're never going to go anywhere. But if you get out there and just try it, again, letting go of the outcome, just go in it for the fun of it, for the joy of it, for the love of it, for being grateful you get to do something, that you get to try something, and then go back to, what did I learn from it? Because now that I have the knowledge or the data, I can make it better. I can try again. And the more you try, the more knowledge you'll gain, the more experience you'll learn, and you will be open to possibilities. And that's the key, is keep that curiosity, keep that creativity, and just try it. Regardless if you fall flat on your face, let go of the failure and just do it. You don't have to love it. It's just like trying a new food, right? Like, oh, I don't know if I want to try that. Try it. If you hate it, fine. You hate it. You don't have to try it again. But if you're like, that was really good, maybe I should try something else. It's just opening doors. But the doors can be open at any time. You still have to walk through them.
Right. That's very good. Oh, it seems like you're answering a lot of my questions before I get there.
I'm sorry. I just get so fired up and then I just keep going. Believing in yourself and doing the affirmations to eliminate your self-doubt, that helps you to do the building of yourself. Cheer yourself on. Just cheer yourself on.
And your successes help with the confidence, building your self-confidence, right?
Absolutely.
Is there, well, I think trying the things like you said and getting maybe more training of just to see if you like that or not, see if that's maybe where you should go, what you should be doing. And as you have these successes, then you get more and more self-confident. Like, were you nervous on that first podcast you did?
I wouldn't say I was nervous. I think I was more concerned about the tech aspect because at that point I knew nothing about tech.
You didn't know. Okay.
Nothing. Like I had a friend gave me a camera and a microphone, and I was like, if I can't figure this out, the only thing I know what to do is turn it off and turn it back on. But it worked, and it was fine. And then during the podcast, it was fun. I was enjoying the conversation. And when you're having fun, everything changes. And then somebody on the show was like, hey, would you do mine? So it turned into all these opportunities just because I went for it.
Right. Well, I was nervous on my first podcast that I was being interviewed on for my book. But it went just fine. And then when I started doing my own podcast, oh my, the first one went pretty good, but boy, that second, there was something happening with the microphone and I couldn't be heard. And then this happened and that happened, but you know what? So did the podcast, and it was interesting, and I think people liked it. And after I got through with it, I thought, well, gee, that was fun despite all that other stuff.
Well, think about how many times that's real in all situations of life.
Right.
That's real. And we are real people. We're not these behind the scenes. This isn't a movie where everything has been scripted and created and, airbrushed. We're real people, and real people connect to other real people.
Okay. Now, Kyle says, can you explain how to do the talking yourself in the mirror?
Sure. Absolutely.
Can you do that again? Lyle would like to hear that part again.
Absolutely. So what I would recommend, and you can search affirmations if you don't know which ones to use for yourself, you can Google them. There's tons of them out there, and find what fits. And then you can learn to write your own. But for me, one of the ones I need the most help with is I am open to being vulnerable. And that was huge for me because I kept everything in. So I wrote it on a little Post-it and I put them on every single mirror in my house, in my car. And every time I saw them, I would look myself in the eye and I would say that exact affirmation out loud. I am open to being vulnerable every time. And in the beginning, it was hard. So know that this may not be easy. There can be tears. There can be, you struggling to unmute yourself and actually say it. There could be like, I'll do it later, like avoidance. But once you get in the habit of doing it, it becomes easy and it becomes stronger and more passionate and more powerful. And your voice becomes louder and there's a smile on your face and you're cheering in the mirror. That's affirmations and mirror work.
And how about writing down your goal? Like, I am going to be a successful.
I am, I have, I feel. All of these are very powerful statements that create change. And they will actually help, again, rewrite those neural pathways to get you on the right track to those things. Because like I said, your brain doesn't know if it's real. So if this is the goal and you're saying the goal out loud, its job is to get you there. So the more you say it, the more it happens.
And maybe the sooner too.
Exactly.
Pam has written, does the guest have a show on this station? I think that's talking about you.
I do not have a podcast, and this has been asked to me several times. I love being a guest on other people's and of course stages and things as well. But having to do like what Shelby's doing over here with the tech is not something I am interested in doing. But I do like to be bright and shiny and be the guest.
Well, I don't really have to do the tech. I have.
You have people, which is wonderful.
I have a team for CY, and if it hadn't been for the encouragement of the owner, Dean Piper, I would not be here either. I never even had thought about doing this, especially at my age. I'm retired.
It has no limits, right? It's only the ones that put themselves. I will tell Pam, look, here's the thing. I never say never. So it's very possible something will pop up at some point because I do like to talk.
A beautiful website. I was looking at it and it's ClaudiaWyatt.com, right?
Yes, thank you. That is another challenge. I built it myself.
You did.
I built it and maintained it myself.
I'm very, very impressed with that. And there's something called Walkabout, or is that? Do I have the right word?
Yeah, that's it. That's literally my life's work. So the story that I was telling you about me going on a walk and waking up, I turned into the Walkabout method, which is a one-on-one, a group, a online course as well as one of my signature talks. So it's literally every step that I took to come out of the dark and dance freely in my own reign, right? Like just really come out and figure out what I wanted, clarity, unmuting myself, being open, taking chances, really learning to conquer those fears, those doubts, and silence the noise. I took all of those, turned them into a program for other people because, like I said, when I went on that walk, one of those aha moments that came to me was, I never want anyone to go through what I went through alone. Because like I said, you can do it by yourself, but it's really hard, especially if you don't understand everything that you're doing. There's a lot of fighting through things that you don't have to have when you have a coach to help you. So the walkabout method is my.
All right, let's see here. We have another one. I have lost the questions you gave me.
That's okay. You can ask me anything. And I like the questions from the audience too.
That's paper here on my desk here, but so I think we've covered quite a bit here already. Is there a difference between how men and how women experience a self-doubt or seek empowerment?
I would say it's very similar. Of course, different brains, left brain, right brain, and how we respond to things. That's all part of it. But it really stems down to how we have interpreted our life from point A to point B. And the things, the experiences, the pain that we've gone through, because everyone's steps are different. That's what I always say with my walkabout is everyone's walk is different. My walk is different than yours because of what you've been through. Your celebrations, your wins, your pain points, your tragedies, your traumas, all of those things make up who you are and where you want to go and what you want to break free from. So I would say there's more similarities. I'm sure I don't specialize in, masculine, feminine, but I'm sure in that aspect, there are some differences in how we respond and react to things based on gender. But for the most part, we're all human. And it all comes down to the root of, again, being worthy, being loved, and being enough.
So you work with men and women?
I do.
Yeah. Okay. Jenny says, what would you tell someone who has the drifting feeling to get them on track? I think that's what she means.
Yeah, I get you. That happens all the time. I would say start with one thing to be grateful for. Because when you step into gratitude, it changes your vibration and there's a shift in your balance at that point. Once you can identify something to be grateful for, and it can literally be anything, it doesn't need to be a grand gesture. There's a shift that happens and you feel that warmth of I get to instead of I have to. And from there, then you can go, okay, I get to be here today and I get to be grateful for this, which means I get to try something new. I get to go for it. I get to have. And then you do it. That's where it comes from. That's the shift.
And Bonnie says or asks, can anyone do this walkabout? And where would they start the journey?
Yes, anyone can do it. It can be done in any way you like. I actually have a group that's starting next month. I just finished my first walkabout group, and it was phenomenal. So I'm on all social medias, and I will be posting more about that. But you can reach out to me directly at my email, connect@claudiawyatt.com, and I can share more information with you. You can get ideas of what the walk is on my website. There are several different aspects of the program, but yeah, one-on-one group or self-study is on there as well. Love to have you.
Yeah, you had some very thought-provoking questions there.
I love it. I love questions. That's one of the things like I do with my people when I'm working with them is I ask a lot of questions. And here's a key tip on questions. Questions provide a lot of answers, but you may not have the answer right away, and that's okay. There's a lot of people I work with. They're like, I just don't know how, I can't process that. I just don't understand it. I don't know. I go, walk away from it. There's so many times when I was doing the work on my own, a question would come up, whether it was, a childhood question or, a moving forward question, a clarity question. And I'd like, I don't do that. That's not me. I don't do that. And I would walk away from it and it would come flooding in. Oh, I do that. That is me. But you can't always see it when it's right in front of you. So sometimes you just need to take a step back.
Yeah, that brings up the thought I had is that sometimes when I'm trying to answer questions like those about yourself and what you think, and I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how what do you do if you just stymied and can't think of an answer?
Sometimes it's not meant to be a question that you need to ask right now. That's
Is
what
it?
I have discovered. There are multiple streams and timelines of things that you're ready for by doing the work. And it may be something that you haven't uncovered yet. And therefore your brain has buried it or you've suppressed it. So you can't answer it. You can't find the answer because you don't know what it is. And that's okay. But what will happen is the more you do the work and you think about that question, I would, dog ear questions in notebooks or put them down on a piece of paper somewhere. I'll come back to that later when I'm ready to answer it because I'm not ready right now. And that's okay. If you're trying to force it, the answers will never come. You need to let them happen. And there may be other things that need to happen first before you can face it.
Mm-hmm. Francis says, what questions should we ask ourselves?
I mean, that's a never-ending story. I literally ask myself questions all the time. What I would say, and one of the things that I have on several different aspects of my socials and sites, and I can send this to you too, Francis, is you need to identify your fears. Because once you identify what your fears are, you can actively make a change to not be consumed by them. You got to take that risk to face yourself. But there's so many questions you could ask yourself. Where have I allowed this to happen? When did I stop allowing myself to be happy? When was the last time I had fun? Because that's something I used to say to myself all the time is, you used to be fun. What happened to you? So you can literally ask yourself any question, but you have to be willing to hear the answer. And you have to be able to take the accountability to go, yep, that's me. But it doesn't have to be.
It looks like I forgot Sam here. Just the difference between have and want in this situation.
That's a very good question. Because want, and I'm going to throw this in there too, and need are different. Want can be anything. Dreaming big, living big, having big. But need is the key. Because what do you need to be different? What do you need to be better? What do you need to be loved? What do you need to be healed? You need to identify your needs. And wants can become haves very easily. You want to, have a company. You want to be successful. You want to have the love of your life. Those are all things that can happen. And you need to believe that they can happen. Because if you don't believe that they can happen, the want will never become the have. But you need to assess your needs first. Because needs and wants are different.
Okay, so we're just about out of time. I want to thank you for coming and being with me today and with all of us. This was wonderful. I learned a lot, and I knew that I would.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you to the audience too. And I loved all your questions. And please reach out. I'm happy to help.
And that is to connect at
ClaudiaWyatt.com. That's my direct email. So you can, it's me. I am the one who answers all of those things. So I will happily discuss with you.
Yeah, just reading through her website is very enlightening. So I trust that you go to that. And I would ask again that you might go to Amazon.com and check out my books, Learning to Dance in the Rain, Surviving Grief, Internet Dating, and Romance Scams. It's got a lot of information that people need to know about. And then if you're interested in dating, well, finding love again, maybe, I hope it gives you the answers that you seek. And really, my last one, I think it's a lot more fun. 2 left feet, dance anyway. Yay. And with that, I'm going to say life is not about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain and learning about your self-doubt, right? And I want to thank all of you for coming today, and I will see you next Tuesday. at noon Eastern time. Bye now.